So today we're going to try and complete the repair work on the mini digger. What's happened is the injectors have got plugged up with dirt. About 2 or 3 years ago I was driving the digger and it felt like it was starting to run out of diesel. On close examination of the engine, I'd noticed I'd neglected the fuel filter here and it was all bunged up with grit and sand. So what I did is I cleaned all the pipes out. The pipes were all corroded and everything, so I replaced all the pipes, cleaned out the water trap, put a new filter in, got it started, and it seemed to work okay. Although the power seemed to be a bit reduced, and occasionally it would slip on from 3 cylinders onto 2 cylinders and splutter about a bit. Over the past 2 years this has sort of got worse, and I've suspected it was the injectors that were the problem. So eventually I got around to removing the injectors. 2 of them came out easily, a third didn't, so I had to order a special tool to try and get that one out. Now I've eventually got all 3 out. I've cleaned them. I found each injector has 4 spray holes. One of them had 1 blocked and the other 3 were weak. The other one had 2 blocked and the other 2 were weak, and then one was sort of just had all 4 of them were sort of weak. So I'll put them on the machine. I don't know what it's called, I'll add a photo to it later, but what actually puts the injectors under pressure, you pump it and it blasts them out, and the combination of soaking them in acid to dissolve the grit that was in them and injector cleaner, left it soak over several days. Eventually I managed to unblock them all, clean them all up, and now they're ready to go back in. This is not before time, because what I've done is I've come around to the other side of the digger. I've made a plough attachment to plough the land. The land's desperately in need of ploughing. It needs turning over. We want it turned over before the storms come, so that any storms do come, it'll soak up the water and won't do damage. Also, I want to turn the weeds. You can see I start to get weeds at the bottom here. That's quite typical of the whole of the land. Turn the weeds back into the soil. I also want to get the fertiliser down. We're on the start of April now. We really do need to get all the trees fertilised, so when it does rain, the rain soaks the fertiliser down into the soft soil. So I really need to get on that. I've just lost a week last week basically to bureaucracy, trying to sort out residency documents for our son who had to return from England. He's working over there for a couple of months. He had to come back just for 4 days just to go and collect a card and then jump back on the plane and go back to England. So we lost the whole of last week to bureaucracy. And basically more jobs are coming in that need to be done. Everything's backing up and we're all running behind schedule, which is pretty typical, pretty as usual. So okay, I'm going to crack on and see if I get these new cleaned up injectors back in, and I'll bring you back in after that. Okay, so we're off to a bad start. I thought I bought everything I could possibly need, and I think I bought everything I could possibly need apart from one crucial thing: the 3 reconditioned injectors. So fairly typical again, when you're working away from the workshop, you inevitably forget something, so I'm going to have to return back home, collect the injectors, then come back down to the farm. So, digger injectors take 2. So these are the injectors. Certainly worth reconditioning because they're €100 each, so I didn't really want to be replacing all those. Just want to quickly show you this tool which I eventually got the last one out. I didn't really hold out much hope for this. It was 20 years off mano in the end, I think. I've been struggling for days. I've been spending with WD-40, applying heat with a plumber's torch and trying to use a spanner with no success. This tool actually had it out in under 2 minutes. As you see, it works a bit like a slide hammer. Yeah, well under 2 minutes this had the whole injector out. When I got it out, I found it was high corrosion there, actually rusted into its hole. So well chuffed for that for €20. So I don't know if you can see on the camera, that's the fuel injectors back in. 1, 2, 3 with the retaining clamps on and the access fuel return pipe connected. They all went in pretty well. I had to be careful because 2 of these left the seals behind, but one of them came out with it, so I needed to make sure that the seal went back in with the right one. This one fought me a little bit. For some reason the studs don't seem to be straight, but in the end I got there. So what I'm going to do now is with this pump, this here, it comes, I'll pick this up off an old French car. They haven't got bilingos, that sort of thing. I'm going to disconnect the feed pipe to the fuel injection pump, connect this in, and then put the other end into a jar of clean diesel, and then the return pipe I'm going to put into another jar in an attempt to try and flush through this fuel injection pump with clean diesel and hopefully take out any dust and dirt that may be trapped in there. Okay, so I'll get on with that and I'll bring you back in a minute. Okay, so there we have it. That's the clean diesel in the jar. There's a little manual pump going into the injection pump, and then the return pipe would normally go back to the fuel tank, going back down into another jar for the dirty fuel. I'd love to show you pumping, but unfortunately I've only got 2 hands, not 3, so I'll have to bring you back after I've done it. Okay, so I've flushed the injection pump through and reconnected the pipes back up. I'm not going to say the diesel was particularly dirty or gritty, but it was definitely, the diesel that came out was cloudy in the second jar. Now, whether it's going to help or not, I don't know, but I'm sort of the opinion, you know, if I try it, there's a chance it may work, but if I don't try it, it definitely won't work. So it is worth a go just to try and rinse out that fuel injection pump. Now, the next step I want to do is try and get the fuel from the tank back up, coming out of these outlets at the fuel injection pump. But I think before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this filter. It's been recently changed, and also if you come around here, I don't know if you can see, you've got another filter down into here, which actually is the water trap. I'm going to take the basin off of that, take them back home and give them a thorough clean with petrol in the compressor, and then finally blown out with clean air to make sure they're completely clean. And then I'm pretty sure I've got a spare fuel filter in stock, and even though it's been recently replaced, I shall put a new fuel filter in there just in case, so it's got every chance possible of actually working properly. Okay, so I'll remove these and I'll go back home and I'll bring you back when I return. Okay, so I'm back from the workshop. We've got everything fully cleaned out. This is a small filter on the way to the fuel injection pump. That was particularly dirty. It's also got the water trap in here. This was the old main fuel filter, not particularly dirty. It was replaced about 2 years ago, but I haven't really used the digger much since then. Luckily I've got a new one in stock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all back together and prepare for bleeding the system of air prior to trying to start it again. Okay, so the water trap's back in and the new filter's back on. I've disconnected the pipe from the filter to the fuel injection pump, and I've put my little French hand pump on. This does actually have a primer down here, but to be honest it's not really up to much. It's a lot faster with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start pumping and try and get the fuel back from the tank all the way through the water trap, back through this filter and back to this pipe here, ready then to try and turn the engine over and get the fuel coming out of these injector pipes. So I've purged all the air from the system. I used the pump, I used this little palmer pump as well, and I had to turn over the engine a bit as well, which I didn't really want to do because I'm not quite sure how brilliant the battery is or how long it's going to last for. But we've got diesel spitting clear out of these 3 injector pump nozzles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fix these pipes back on and fit them loosely to the injectors, and then try and bleed the system through the next section through these pipes. Okay, so I've loosened off the pipes off the injectors one by one and turned the engine over. Unfortunately we haven't got the diesel through before the battery's gone flat. The battery was better than I thought it was, but still not enough to get all the air out of these pipes. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the battery off and take it home and get it on charge. I've already got another one on charge with my homemade solar charger. So hopefully we'll have a go probably this evening, because I'm going to go and do something else this afternoon, or it's going to be again tomorrow morning. Okay, so we'll leave it there for now, and I'll bring you back later on. Good morning and welcome back. You may have gathered that I didn't make it back to fix the digger last night, so I left the 2 batteries on charge most of yesterday and half the night, so that I have plenty of battery power to try and purge the air out of the diesel. This morning we're going to try and double bubble things a bit. Alfie's come along to help. You may recall that in previous videos I mentioned she's broken her arm. The arm's not in plaster because they've fitted a metal bar down the inside of the bone, the humerus on the upper arm. So she has got some movement, can help a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to carry on with the digger down below, but we're also going to set up the generator and the water pump so we can water the upper levels of our land and get the trees watered. For the most part, the watering's pretty easy here. I've put in an irrigation system which is gravity fed. The problem we do have is on the few upper levels that we do have, the water source that you can see over there, which is the water bolster, is actually higher than the tiers we have up here with the trees on. So we have to use a pump which is electric, and in which case then we have to use a generator to power the pump. So I'll walk you across here. So what we have to do is we make a connection with a hose pipe here down below onto this tap that goes along and down to a 1,000 litre water tank down below. Now what happens is I've got a pipe that runs, you can see it over there, to the grey barrel. That runs from the water tank over to the grey barrel, and then there's a pipe that runs along to this 1,000 litre. If you leave all the taps open, eventually the level of the water tank over there will level up onto the 1,000 litre tank there. It takes about an hour and a half, and you'll end up with a 1,000 litre tank full up and ready to pump. So we've connected the hose and we've thrown the hose pipe down below ready, and then now we're going to drive around and make the connection of the electric water pump and the generator. Okay, so one of the first jobs we have to do before we can actually start pumping is prime the pump. Open the top hole and pour in water until it flows out. Okay, so you can see that's filling in, it's coming out the end here, so that's full enough and fully primed. That's done, put the cap back in, and now we're ready for the next stage. So then we move on to the next stage. We take the food pipe to the pump, we're going to tie it around the brick, a bit fiddly. Okay, and then we drop it into the tank. Make sure it's right into the bottom. Okay, then we move along over to the pump, rubber seal into there, and connect this. And then the final connection is a hose pipe which goes up to above. We make sure there's no kinks, and make sure this connection is made really well, because there is a lot of pressure comes out of it and it just blows off and you'll end up with water shooting 20-30 foot in the air. Okay, so that's on. So now we start the generator. I'll make sure the trip switch is off so I can give the generator time to warm up a bit before I start putting it under strain. Choke on. Choke off. So we're just going to give that a minute or so to get warmed up before I start putting the engine under pressure by using the pump. Okay, so the generator's warmed up a bit, so I'm going to switch that on and start the pump. Listen to the tone of the generator as I switch on the electricity. Right, so that's now pumping. So what we'll do is we'll walk round to above and check to see if the water's coming through at the trees. Okay, so we're back on the top levels and we're walking around to check that the individual trees are getting water. Often takes a while for the air to get purged out of the lines and the water to start flowing properly. So we'll just have a quick general look and then come back. See, this one's going. You can actually hear the air here getting blown out the nozzle. Okay, so we have to check, more or less check all these trees are working properly and that they're all getting watered. Okay, these all seem to be starting to water okay. I'll have a quick look. Just make sure we've got no leaks so we're not losing our water anywhere. There we go, you can see here, look, this one's shooting right over to there. This is a total waste of water, so we need to get that locked down. Okay, I'll stop that. This one doesn't actually have a nozzle on because it's the last on the line, it's the furthest away. If you put a nozzle on there, there just isn't enough pressure for it to get any water, so we just leave this one without a nozzle. You can see we're the furthest away from where the pump is at this point. Okay, so I'm going to cut this here. I'm going to leave Anthea in charge of checking on the trees and looking after these up above here. When the water tank gets low, she'll switch the generator off, and then we'll wait for the water tank to fill up to the top again, and we'll repeat this process 2 more times. I'm going to go and get on down below and see if we can get this wretched digger working. Okay, so we've got 2 ratchets this time, the original one and the spare, so I'm going to put the spare in first and we'll see if we can get it started. Okay, battery in. Positive one first. Then our negative. I'll tweak them up and then we'll make a start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure 2 of these injectors are tight. Those 2. And then the 3rd I'll loosen off. What I'll do then is I'll turn the starter until diesel starts to come out here, tweak this one up, then do this one, then do this one. When all of them have diesel coming out for the top here, it should start. So here we go. So it's alive. Let it run for a few seconds, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the air filter back on it. Okay, so I've now put the air filter bracket back on, the air filter back on, connected the pipes back up. Again, I've previously taken this home and cleaned the air filter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if it'll start again. We'll give it a good run. Whilst it's warming up, I'll take the plough attachment off, because next I'm going to do a bit of blading prior to ploughing. So let's see if it's going to start. Okay, I think we'll call that a success for now anyway. So I'm going to leave this for 5-10 minutes while I get the plough off and see if it's okay. I've also noticed actually when I just walked around here, this is the actual hole for the fluid level. That should be between the red circle here, when the arm is fully extended and laid down like that. It isn't, so I'm going to have to top up with a little bit more hydraulic fluid before we can actually use the digger. Okay, so we've taken the spare battery off and I've fitted the original battery back on. I've been trying to put the support bracket on back on here again, but obviously designed by the Ministry of Crap Design, it goes on the corner here, so I'm sick of that. I think I'm going to have to make a new one to go along the top here, so that can go. Next job, we're going to have to take this cap off and tap up the hydraulic fluid. First of all, I shall move the joysticks around, get rid of any residual air in the system, and then I shall carefully take this nut off and let out the air ready to top up the fluid again. So that's the cap off. I've topped it up, only needed about ½ a litre in the end. You can see around here on the hole, it's actually now a little way above the red circle in the middle, but so long as it's about here, so long as it's not above this window, that's fine. Now to set the level and test the level here, you need to have the arm fully extended like that, but to repressurise the system afterwards, you need to have the arm fully up in the upward position before I put the cap back in here. I don't know if it's to depressurise or repressurise, all I know it must be done. So I'm going to start the digger hopefully, and we'll do that. So as you can see, the bucket and the arms fully up now. So now we can come and we can put the cap back in here. Okay, that's tightened right up. So now I can put the cover back on here again. We'll remove the plough attachment, and then I'll be able to do a little bit of blading. Okay, so I've got the plough off, the digger's started and get it warm up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blade along the edge of the land to get rid of some soil that's fallen down off this bank along here in a minute. Blading is a good test for the digger, because it's probably when it's under its most pressure and it's using the most power to push the whole of the blade along. The homemade plough is over here. I'm going to do a separate video on this because it's completely homemade, on how to make it, where to get the bits from, etc, etc. Do a little short video about that for anybody's interested who's got a mini digger and would like to put a plough attachment in it rather than having to buy a whole another tractor, have all the maintenance of a tractor, etc, etc. Okay, so I'm going to move along here. We're going to have this pipe up along here, and all this along the bottom is probably hard to see on the camera where this bank has fallen down. I'm going to blade along here and level it out all the way along. I'll get Anthea to try and clear this away into the dumper. All the way along to level it up. Right up into this corner. I'm also going to fill in this little trench here, which comes from this pipe from above. I quickly put that in a while back because a lot of water comes down this pipe when we have a storm. I need to put a little wall in here or something to support it at some point. And we've had this tree on this corner drown once before and had to replace it. So I shall fill this in, level it out ready for ploughing. And then my first run with the plough will come straight down here, so that all the grooves go this way, and then hopefully it will disperse any water comes down there the whole length all the way around to the far end. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to see if the dumper is going to start. So this is our dumper. Should really be in a museum rather than working on a farm, but like most old stuff, it's built for life. It's really strong, works really well. I rebuilt the engine, or the top end of the engine, about 3-4 years ago. It's an excellent machine. I don't think I've started it for about a month and a half now, so let's see if it will start. I'll hand the camera over to Anthea so she can film, and I'll see if I can get this started. This is the key. You won't want to carry many of these around in your pocket. Shaft, so we're neutral. Okay, thanks slow. There you go, brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to move this, let it warm up a bit, move it over to the wood over here, about it to clear up, and then I'll start blading with the digger. Okay, so bladed it out, filled that trench in. I think Alfie filmed me doing that. Okay. And all the way down that edge, ready for ploughing tomorrow. I still don't think the digger's 100%. When we first started up, there's quite a lot of white smoke coming through. I didn't actually manage to get the actual washers that make the seal between the injectors and the engine out. They were well in there, and I didn't really want to mess any more than I had to. It started off with a bit of white smoke, then we stopped the engine, we started again, and it cleared. Spluttered about with the old problem it had a bit before, but after a while that seemed to clear as well. So I don't know, maybe dirty diesel in the tank, it's been in there too long, I don't know. So we'll know more tomorrow when we try and plough to see how it performs then. Okay, so all we need to do now is we'll take that wood up to the top with the dumper, up to the top of the land, tip that out. We're waiting for the water tank to fill up. We're at the top to irrigate the top bit of land. That normally takes an hour and a half for each tank, and we normally fill it up 3 times, 3,000 litres to water the top area. We normally do that between every 10 days to 2 weeks, depending on how much rainfall we have and what time of year it is. Alright, so I'm back down the land for the final time today. It's 4:30. This morning we did the digger, as you know, and we watered the top level, did 2 tanks, so I'm just got the generator running again now, and we're watering the top level once more, the final 1,000 litres. So tomorrow it's ploughing. You see down there, we've got the digger there ready. Whether he's going to let us down or not, and whether he's going to play or not, I don't know. You can see I've pulled all the pipes up. They're all coiled up along the ends here. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get down there, we'll get the plough hooked up on the digger, and we'll get started and we won't have any problems. So I think we're going to leave the video here really this time. Thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this video, and let me know I'm on the right track and I'll make more similar videos. So goodbye for now, and you can catch up to me tomorrow and we'll see how we get on with the ploughing.